My sister once said something that left me absolutely speechless. If you care about that computer so much, why don't you baby-proof the entire apartment? In that moment, I stood frozen in the wreckage of what used to be my dream workspace, a setup I had spent years saving for, and listened to my sister, the very person whose 3-year-old just destroyed over $2,000 worth of equipment, talk to me like I was the problem. No apology, no remorse, just a cold, dismissive line. And then she stormed out, clearly offended. When I asked her to pay for the damages or go to court, my entire family turned against me. They called me materialistic, selfish, even heartless, all because I didn't understand that kids just explore the world. So now I'm left wondering, if it were you, would you take a blood relative to court? I never thought a 3-year-old could become such an expensive nightmare. But what hurt more than the destroyed tech was the feeling of betrayal by my own family. I live alone in a tiny apartment, just over 30 square meters. It's not spacious or fancy, but it's my world. After long days of coding classes and freelance shifts that stretch late into the night, the only place I want to return to is that little workspace in the corner, the one I built piece by piece with my own 2 hands, using every cent I'd saved over the past 4 years. My triple monitor setup, custom mechanical keyboard, ergonomic chair, the water cooling system I bought during the year-end sale. None of it was just gear. To me, it was proof. Proof of how far a young woman living alone, far from home, could go when she chased what she loved. Then my sister called. She asked to stay the night. Her apartment was being fumigated. Her husband was away on a business trip, so it was just her and Max, her 3-year-old son. I knew Max. I loved him the way an aunt loves a mischievous little nephew, until he stepped into my world. At first, I hesitated, not because I didn't want to help, but because I knew Max's track record. He had dropped her phone in the toilet, chewed up a TV remote, and once scribbled lipstick all over Grandma's wall. He's just energetic, my sister always said. I, on the other hand, preferred the word chaotic, but she promised me, I'll keep a close eye on him. It's just one night. He sleeps early. I trusted her, partly because we're family, partly because I didn't want to be the cold-hearted sister who says no to someone asking for help. But the moment they stepped into my apartment that afternoon, I felt it. The shift in energy. Max immediately charged into the living room like it was some kind of public playground. Within 10 minutes, he had spilled juice on the rug, pulled every book off the shelf, and scattered potting soil across the floor. I kept calm. He's just a kid, I told myself. Still, I gently said to my sister, I just have one request. Please don't let Max into the workroom. I have some important equipment in there. She gave a little laugh. Relax, he's just exploring. He's a kid. But she did close the door. I thought that would be the end of it. I didn't know that an unlocked door, merely left ajar, would end up sentencing an entire piece of my life to destruction. And I had no idea that her promise to watch him would turn out flimsier than a tear-soaked tissue. That night, Max and my sister slept in the living room. I laid out a mattress in the kitchen, the only free space left, and tried to drift off with a podcast playing and fake rain sounds in my ears. But somewhere deep inside, a quiet worry was beginning to stir. The next morning, I didn't wake up to my alarm. I woke up to my sister's piercing scream. I bolted out, heart pounding. And that's when I saw it. My entire world wiped out like someone had hit format all. One of the monitors had been yanked off the desk, shattered. Keycaps were pulled out, several missing. Permanent markers streaked across my chair. But what froze me completely, what stole the words right out of my mouth, was the apple juice seeping out from inside my PC tower. And just like that, all boundaries collapsed. Not just hardware, but trust. I stood there, speechless, frozen, as if staring hard enough at my ruined PC tower could somehow rewind time. But all I saw was the brutal truth. Spilled apple juice soaking into the seams, cookie crumbs jammed into the vents, cables yanked out of place, keyboard keys scattered like broken teeth, and my expensive monitor cracked like a frozen lake punched from the inside. Max, meanwhile, was happily playing with the HDMI cable as if it were a new toy. And my sister, the only adult who could have prevented any of this, just stood there, sighed, and said the one thing that pushed me over the edge. "Oh, come on. It's just stuff. Do you really have to overreact like that? You live alone. You should have baby-proofed everything. Baby-proof? Something splintered in my chest. A wave of rage surged from deep inside me, not just because my computer was destroyed, but because of how easily she brushed off the damage, like it was expected, like it was normal. Because he's just a kid. I spoke slowly, each word cold as ice, without raising my voice. I asked you to keep Max out of my office. This is my home, not a daycare, and you know that. She just scoffed, like I was the one being ridiculous. You should know how kids are. He didn't mean to do anything. He was just curious. It's not like he did it on purpose. At this point, it wasn't about intention. It was about consequences, the result of ignoring boundaries, dismissing my requests, and failing to control her child in someone else's space. I didn't blame Max. He's only 3. I blamed my sister, the only responsible adult in the apartment that night. I asked again, clearly, "Are you going to take responsibility?" She sighed. "I don't have money. Maybe in a few months I can give you a couple $100. But come on, are you really thinking about suing me? It's just tech stuff. You're overreacting." Just tech stuff. Another cut to my dignity. She had no idea how many nights I stayed up building that rig from scratch, how many outings I skipped, how much I trimmed from my grocery budget just to afford each component. That little corner of my apartment wasn't just a workstation, it was my personal haven, my proof that I could build something from nothing, my sanctuary when no one else believed in me. To her, it was just tech. To me, it was everything. I looked her straight in the eye. "If you're not going to pay for the damage, I'll take you to court." Her expression shifted instantly. Gone was the dismissive tone, replaced by genuine anger. "You're unbelievable. You drag your own sister to court over something a toddler did. Do you even care about family anymore?" Family? Family isn't a one-way street. It doesn't give you the right to ruin someone's hard work and expect forgiveness like it's owed. I wasn't asking her to cough up $2,000 overnight. I just wanted her to admit she was wrong, to make it right. But instead, I got blame, rage, and one final, icy sentence. "If you go through with this, we're done. Don't ever talk to me again." The door slammed shut behind her. Max tugged at my sleeve and whispered, "Auntie, are you mad at me?" I swallowed hard. "No, Max, I'm not mad at you. I'm mad at the adults who never taught you boundaries and never learned how to say 2 simple words. I'm sorry. I never expected that. After everything, the thing that hurt the most wasn't the shattered computer. It wasn't even my sister's thoughtless comment. It was how my entire family reacted after it all happened. Less than an hour after my sister left my apartment, my phone started buzzing nonstop. Texts from my mom, my dad, my brother. I didn't even need to open them to know what they'd say. "Why were you so harsh with your sister? He's just a kid. Is this really worth taking to court? You're tearing this family apart over a computer?" I thought I was strong enough to handle anything. But as I read each message, I found myself crying without even realizing it. To them, I wasn't someone whose privacy had been violated. I wasn't someone who had lost thousands in property. I wasn't someone desperately trying to hold on to just a sliver of fairness. No. To them, I was just the selfish little sister who didn't know how to be forgiving. My dad texted, "If that computer was so important to you, why didn't you just lock your room? You live alone, don't you?" My brother was colder. 3 monitors. What do you even need them for? Are you gaming or launching missiles? And my mom, the one person I always believed would at least understand how hard I'd worked, said something that made me feel like a stranger in my own family. "You can always replace machines, but once sisters are lost, you can't get that back." I typed out replies over and over, only to delete them. Because I knew they didn't want to understand. They had already chosen a side before I even got the chance to explain. That night, I sat in my tiny kitchen in front of the old laptop I pulled out of storage, the same one that saved me back in college. I opened up receipts for all the equipment, photographed the damages, read through my renter's insurance policy to start filing a claim. The words blurred across the screen like a silent reminder. Don't expect anyone to save you. Get up. Do it yourself. I also sent one last email to my sister. If you're willing to take some responsibility, either cover part of the cost or agree to a payment plan. I'll drop everything legal. No lawyers, no drama. The only reply I got was a blocked number. No apology, no ownership. She vanished like I was the one who had done something wrong. The only person who reached out after that was my brother-in-law. He wasn't there when it all happened, and he seemed genuinely surprised when I told him what had gone down. Unlike my sister, he didn't dismiss the damage. "I don't know all the details," he said, "but if Max wrecked your stuff, then she has to take responsibility. I'll talk to her." I was grateful. At least someone was willing to listen. But that tiny thread of comfort wasn't enough to undo the feeling of being exiled by my own blood. Every message blaming me, every "you're overreacting" stabbed a little deeper. No one asked if I was okay. No one asked how much I'd lost. No one saw the young woman sitting alone in a wrecked apartment, typing out damage reports into a PDF form with a heart that felt completely hollow. I used to think family was the place you could fall back on after the world knocks you down. But now I'm starting to understand. Sometimes people are quick to forgive the one who caused the damage, as long as it's not you. And if you dare to ask for justice, you'll be labeled the one who tore the family apart. Even if you're the only one still trying to hold on to what truly matters: boundaries, accountability, and respect. I cried. A lot. Not because I lost the equipment, but because I lost trust. There was a moment that night, as I sat alone in the cold kitchen, my hand resting on a makeshift laptop, my mind spinning with criticism, when something clicked. If I didn't stand up to protect my boundaries, no one else would. My family didn't understand. My sister brushed it off, and I, the only one who actually suffered a loss, was being told to just let it go for the sake of peace. But I'm not that 17-year-old girl anymore, crying over stolen things with no one on her side. I've grown. I've built my life with my own hands. And now I've made a decision. If there's no apology, no accountability, then there will be court. The next morning, I filed a damage report with my insurance company. The agent was polite, but after hearing the situation, she frowned slightly and said, "This could be categorized as damage caused by a personal guest, so the chances of reimbursement are low." I wasn't surprised. The apartment is mine. I invited my sister and her child, so even though it wasn't my fault, the system could still deny me. Sometimes the law doesn't side with the victim, but the court, that's a different story. I began collecting evidence. Photos of the damage, receipts for every component, text messages confirming my sister agreed to supervise her kid, the email I sent offering a civil resolution, and the last message she ever sent before she blocked me. I know I'm not doing this out of spite. I'm doing this out of principle. Because if I don't set clear boundaries now, tomorrow they'll keep breaking into my life and brush it off with, "He's just a kid." Because if I keep letting things slide, I'll become a doormat for people who are used to stepping over others. Some close friends found out and messaged me in support. "You're not wrong. Don't let emotions cloud your judgment. Family doesn't mean they get a free pass to be irresponsible." They didn't say much, but each word felt like a pillar holding me up inside that empty apartment. And slowly, I began to feel lighter. Not because anything had been fixed, but because I was reclaiming control over my life. A week later, my brother-in-law reached out. He apologized on behalf of his wife, said he didn't know how to handle it at first, and asked to see the receipts for the damages. He didn't promise to pay it all, but said he wanted to do his part. I agreed to send the documents, on one condition. I needed a written commitment, not just words. I know some people will think I'm being too cold, that I should forgive, let it go, or act out of love. But love should never be a shield for irresponsibility. It should never be a free pass to trample on someone else's efforts. I've kept quiet for years. Every time I was hurt, I swallowed it down. Because I didn't want drama, because I didn't want to be the one people disliked. But this time, it's different. I'm no longer afraid of being judged. What I fear more is becoming someone who tolerates everything, until one day she doesn't even recognize herself in the mirror. If I have to be the ungrateful daughter in my parents' eyes to protect my dignity, so be it. If I have to be called cold-blooded just to preserve what I worked so hard for, then call me that. Because I've come to understand this truth. I wasn't born to be anyone's doormat. Not even for family. I used to think that taking a family member to court meant I had become a cold-hearted person. But in the end, I realized. Seeking justice doesn't mean being cruel. It's simply a way to protect the things I built with blood, sweat, and trust. My brother-in-law ended up doing what my sister couldn't, or perhaps never wanted to do. Take responsibility. He called back, his voice low and sincere. I didn't know whose side to take at first, he said, but after hearing your explanation, I get it. Max is my son, and I can't let you carry all the consequences alone. I sent him all the invoices, along with the current valuation of the equipment. The total damage, over $2,300. He didn't deny anything. He just said, give me a few weeks. I'll transfer the first $1,000 right away. For the rest, if you're okay with it, I'd like to split it into smaller payments, but I promise there will be paperwork. Exactly how you asked. I sat quietly for a few minutes after the call, not because of the money, but because for the first time, someone was standing on my side, without using family as an excuse, without hiding behind the phrase, he's just a kid. My sister still hasn't said a word. No texts, no calls, not even a single apology. I'm no longer waiting. Because now I understand, some people stay silent not out of guilt, but because they believe time will erase everything. Not this time. My family, meanwhile, is still handling me in silence. My mom still sends vague messages like, don't make this worse. I'm afraid you and your sister will never speak again. But I no longer reply. I've said enough, clearly, honestly, and from the heart. Now, I choose action. I'm letting things follow the legal process, or the path my brother-in-law committed to. What I didn't expect was how this entire situation made me look inward, and finally forgive myself. I used to think I was selfish, a girl who cared too much about things, who valued material stuff over family, the kind of person who would draw a line over a computer. But now, as I slowly rebuild my workspace, chair by chair, desk by desk, and my PC waiting for new parts, I finally understand. I wasn't protecting a possession. I was protecting a dream. Every single piece in that setup stood for sleepless nights spent learning to code, live stream sessions to earn extra income, and games that helped me escape loneliness. It wasn't just tech gear like others might see it. To me, it was the nervous system of my life. The place where I felt strong, skilled, worthy. And if someone breaks that world, whether by accident or neglect, they need to be held accountable, not out of revenge, but for the sake of fairness. I know this might change my relationship with my sister forever. Maybe we'll never go back to what we once had. But I also know that any relationship only holds value when both sides respect each other's boundaries. And if I have to trade a fake sense of peace to keep my dignity, so be it. I have no regrets. And I'm not alone. Because in the end, I learned the lesson the adults in my family should have taught me long ago. Being loved is beautiful, but learning to love yourself is irreplaceable. And sometimes, standing up for yourself, even if you stand alone, is the loudest declaration you can make. I deserve respect, whether it's from strangers or from the people who share my blood. If you've ever been called too sensitive, too selfish, or told that you don't care about family just because you dared to stand up for your own property, your boundaries, and your self-respect, then let me tell you this. You are not wrong. We are taught to love others, to forgive, to compromise. But very few ever teach us how to say no, how to refuse being taken advantage of, or how to love ourselves without feeling guilty. Family is precious, but it should never be a weapon used to guilt you into sacrificing yourself forever. If you need justice, go seek it. If you need respect, demand it. And if someone can't understand your pain, they have no right to ask you to stay silent. You don't have to choose between love and fairness. You deserve both. That's the end of this story. If it touched you, please leave a comment, like, share, and subscribe to support us in making more videos like this. Thank you for listening. See you in the next one.